तो मैं सदन के माध्यम से सिर्फ इतना कहना चाहूंगा कि जब राजस्थान, छत्तीसगढ़, पश्चिम बंगाल, हिमाचल प्रदेश, झारखंड इन प्रदेशों में पुरानी पेंशन दी जा रही है तो उत्तर प्रदेश में पुरानी पेंशन क्यों नहीं दी जा रही है, इस पर विचार किया जाए। और समाजवादी पार्टी के राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष माननीय अखिलेश यादव जी ने कहा था कि अगर हम सत्ता में आते हैं तो सबसे पहले हम पुरानी पेंशन लागू करेंगे।
डॉक्टर मान सिंह जी बैठिए। डॉक्टर मान सिंह जी, आपने सरकार से प्रश्न पूछा, सरकार ने अपना पक्ष रख दिया कि हमारे यहाँ ये स्थिति है, उन्होंने रख दिया, उत्तर पूरा आ गया है इसमें।
और ये बहुत ही हास्यास्पद स्थिति है कि जो मेरा प्रश्न था जवाब आ गया जी नहीं, प्रश्न नहीं उठता, जी नहीं, जी नहीं। माननीय सभापति महोदय, अभी सरकार यूपीएस योजना लॉन्च किया है एनपीएस के स्थान पर, और भारतीय जनता पार्टी की ही सरकार राजस्थान और छत्तीसगढ़ में है, वहां पर पुरानी पेंशन दी जा रही है। यहां तक कि हिमाचल प्रदेश, पश्चिम बंगाल, झारखंड में भी पुरानी पेंशन दी जा रही है। लेकिन उत्तर प्रदेश की जब बात आती है तो ये उत्तर लिख करके आ जाता है जी नहीं, प्रश्न नहीं उठता। माननीय सभापति महोदय, मैं पहले भी कह चुका हूं कि ये जो एनपीएस है जिसमें थोड़ा बहुत अभी सुधार किया गया है, एनपीएस टोटल पूंजीपतियों को तिजोरी भरने का एक माध्यम है। और आज भी जो ये यूपीएस के सुधार की बात करते हैं, यदि हमारा कोई कर्मचारी 52 वर्ष में रिटायरमेंट ले लेता है तो उसे 8 साल इंतजार करना पड़ेगा पेंशन पाने के लिए। और जो सबसे बड़ी इसमें खामी है कि कर्मचारियों का 10% जबरदस्ती उगाही करके उसमें जमा किया जाता है। माननीय सभापति महोदय, मैं यह भी कहना चाहूंगा कि एक प्रकार से ये सिविल सर्विसेज रेगुलेटिंग एक्ट जो 474 और 475 है उसका भी वायलेशन हो रहा है, जिसमें कहा गया है कि यदि 10 वर्ष की सेवा कोई कर्मचारी पूरी कर लेता है तो उसे न्यूनतम पेंशन का हकदार माना जाए। माननीय सभापति महोदय, जिस अंतराल में ये उत्तर दिया गया है कि जी नहीं, प्रश्न नहीं उठता, उसी अंतराल में यूपीएस में संशोधन भी किया गया है एनपीएस में। तो मैं सदन के माध्यम से सिर्फ इतना कहना चाहूंगा कि जब राजस्थान, छत्तीसगढ़, पश्चिम बंगाल, हिमाचल प्रदेश, झारखंड इन प्रदेशों में पुरानी पेंशन दी जा रही है तो उत्तर प्रदेश में पुरानी पेंशन क्यों नहीं दी जा रही है, इस पर विचार किया जाए। और समाजवादी पार्टी के राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष माननीय अखिलेश यादव जी ने कहा था कि अगर हम सत्ता में आते हैं तो सबसे पहले हम पुरानी पेंशन लागू करेंगे।
डॉक्टर मान सिंह जी बैठिए।
Yeah, no, nothing was discussed regarding Section 11. It is, let me, clarify, lot of, media attention has been given to Section 11A. This is not a usual section to be used, this is a section to be used in the rarest of the rare cases. So it is not to be used generally or, as a practice, as a matter of practice for which we would like to, issue a circular at this point of time.
73. मैम तरुण फ्रॉम जी बिजनेस। मैम, क्या आज की मीटिंग में रियल एस्टेट सेक्टर स्पेशली एक कंसर्न था कि जब हम फ्लैट खरीदते हैं तो उसमें लैंड प्लस कंस्ट्रक्शन कॉस्ट होती है, तो जीएसटी जो है वो केवल कंस्ट्रक्शन कॉस्ट पे लगना चाहिए, तो उस पर कोई आज डिस्कशन हुआ, कुछ क्लैरिटी उस पर?
बट ऑन द उस पर डिस्कशन हुआ, लेकिन केवल जैसा आपने कहा कि वो जो है केवल कंस्ट्रक्शन सर्विस पे लगनी चाहिए, वो आज के दिन में भी यही स्थिति है कि कंस्ट्रक्शन सर्विस पे ही लगती है। लेकिन उसको कंस्ट्रक्शन सर्विस पे लगाने के लिए चूंकि फ्लैट की रेट में लैंड की भी वैल्यू होती है, तो उसको एक डीम्ड 1/3 जो है वैल्यू लैंड को एट्रीब्यूट की जाती है और उसको हटा करके उसके बाद में किया जाता है। तो ये एक सोचा गया था कि ये हर केस में 1/3 जरूरी नहीं है हो, कहीं पे लैंड की कॉस्ट ज्यादा हो सकती है, कहीं पे लैंड की कॉस्ट कम हो सकती है। तो उसके विषय के ऊपर में चर्चा हुई थी और अंत में निर्णय ये लिया गया कि जो रियल एस्टेट का जीवन है वो इसका परीक्षण करेगा और परीक्षण करके अपना सिफारिश काउंसिल के समक्ष रखे।
39. Hello, ma'am. Harsh Kumar, this is from Business Standard newspaper. So, ma'am, what states actually suggested on insurance, GST on insurance rate?
No, actually speaking on insurance, there were a lot of discussion about which one is going to be taken up. Will we reduce the rate or will we exempt it? For who should be exempt and who should not? What happens to group insurance? Then are we going to then carve out only for senior citizens? Will this not complicate the implementation? And therefore, a lot of these issues were brought up for further discussion. And that's where we thought it's better that this goes through a rigorous looking into by the GOM and then they come forward. Because these aspects were differently talked and the question was raised on that.
Ma'am, any specific numbers?
What numbers? Oh, no.
3.
Ma'am, Siddharth from Times of India. I have a couple of questions. One is, ma'am, did the council discuss the future of cess in the sense that will it continue or not continue after from 1st of April 2026? Number one. Number two, on that research part, will the clarification apply prospectively or retrospectively? Whether it will start from 2017 itself. And the third question is, you talked about IGST excess payment. What is the extent of excess payment if that has been assessed?
So,
The other decisions which have been taken by the council are relating to exemption for the affiliation charges which are levied by the boards, whether of the center or of the state, for government schools. So this has been exempted. Other clarification that has been approved to be issued by the council relates to when an ancillary or intermediate services are provided by a GTA, a goods transport agency in the course of transportation of goods by road, and the GTA also issues a consignment note.
and that will have officers both from the center and state. So these are the committees and some of the decisions which have been given to committees, some with a very limited time span. I again remind you, on the medical insurance, they'll have to come back by October. So on the, there was one more which they have to come back by October, IGST. On the IGST, the secretary, the committee of officers will have to come back. Then the council has today decided that funds given for research to state affiliated universities or universities which are which have come about with state laws, or universities which have come about with central laws, or those institutions which have obtained income tax exemption. So 3 categories. 1, universities and research centers which have been established by a law of the central government. 2, universities and research centers established by a law of the state governments, or those institutions which, as a 3rd category, those institutions which have obtained income tax exemption can receive research funds both from public, which is government, and from private, and they shall not pay GST. They are exempted from paying the GST. So these are some of the main decisions of the GST, but there are a few more which I request the Revenue Secretary and his team to explain, because there are very many MEO decisions, one of which I would highlight is reduction in the GST rates on specified cancer drugs. You will recall that in the budget we had cut down customs duties. Now, GST rate on cancer drugs are also being brought down. It's being reduced from 12% to 5% in order to further reduce the cost of cancer treatment. Then, also decision on namkeens, extruded, expanded savory food items. GST rate on these is being reduced prospectively, not retrospectively, prospectively from 18 to 12%. On metal scrap, reverse charge mechanism on supply of metal scrap from unregistered persons to unregistered person, provided that the supplier shall take registration as and when it crosses the threshold limit. In addition, a recipient who is liable to pay under the RCM shall pay tax even if supplier is under threshold. So largely, I have recalled some of the major decisions, but there are other decisions also which have been taken, which of course I'll invite the Revenue Secretary to elaborate on.
The other decisions which have been taken by the council are relating to exemption for the affiliation charges which are levied by the boards, whether of the center or of the state, for government schools. So this has been exempted. Other clarification that has been approved to be issued by the council relates to when an ancillary or intermediate services are provided by a GTA, a goods transport agency, in the course of transportation of goods by road, and the GTA also issues a consignment note. In such cases, the service will be treated as a composite service, composite supply, and all such ancillary intermediate services like loading, unloading, packing, unpacking, transshipment, warehousing, etc. will be treated as part of the composite supply, attracting the rate of supply for GTA. Then there was another decision which was taken to bring in renting of commercial property by unregistered persons to a registered person under RCM, under reverse charge mechanism. I may mention over here that already residential property, when it is rented by a registered person from an unregistered person, is already at RCM, under RCM, and so this anomaly has been corrected by this decision. Then there were decisions regarding clarification of place of supply relating to advertising services being provided by Indian companies to foreign entities. It has been clarified that the recipient, which is a foreign entity, will be the place of residence of that particular entity will be the place of supply, so it shall be exempt from GST. Similarly, place of supply for data hosting services provided by service providers located in India to cloud computing services located outside India has also been clarified to the extent that the recipient of this service, which again happens to be outside, shall be the place of recipient, shall be the place of supply of this services. The clarification has also been decided to be issued for availability of input tax credit on demo vehicles by the dealers in case they have been bought by the dealers from the vehicle manufacturer. There was a confusion relating to this. So this has been decided to be clarified. Then the procedure and conditions for waiver of interest and penalty in respect of the earlier tax demands of the first 4 years. This was an earlier decision. So those conditions, the procedure thereof has been decided in this meeting today. It has also been decided to recommend. The council has also recommended to notify that the last date for this shall be 31/3/2025, and it shall be operative from 1st of November of this year. A mechanism has also been provided for implementation of the newly inserted subsections 5 and 6. You are aware that the input tax credit was allowed retrospectively with effect from 1/7/17 for the returns filed for the first 4 years till October 2021, and so a procedure for those cases has been prescribed. And similarly, amendments have been made in Rules 89 and Rule 96 to provide for a clarification that IGST refunds on exports where some benefits of concessional or exemption notifications have been availed on the inputs on refund of IGST paid on exports. Two important matters relating to technology adoption were also approved by the council. One is to introduce B2C e-invoicing. You are all aware that we already have B2B in e-invoicing beyond a certain limit. I think more than 5 crore, more than 5 crore, more than 5 crore rupees of turnover. We have mandatory B2B e-invoicing, and so now we want to take it to B2C e-invoicing. This will actually facilitate the consumers by enabling them to check whether this invoice that has been issued is actually genuine or not. But this will be done on a voluntary basis to start with in selected sectors and states. So the law committee has been authorized to make amendments in rules and the law wherever necessary. Another update that was given to the council relates to the invoice management system and new ledger. You are aware that the GST actually works on input tax credit, and there are a lot of mismatches between the input tax credit on the one hand, and which is available, and under the various forms that we have, mismatches between GSTR 1A and the GSTR 3B, the return, and similarly between GSTR 2B and GSTR 3B on the credit side as well as on the liability side. This has led to a number of notices, sometimes in some of the years running into lakhs, which then causes inconvenience to the taxpayers on the one hand, and on the other hand is also a means for tax evasion by producing fake bills, because there is no mechanism to actually check them. So a whole new system part of which has already been introduced in the form of GSTR 1A, and part of which will be introduced from 1st October for the invoice management. This will also be, this update was presented to the council. And last of all, a few more rate, that is rate on car and motorcycle seats. Prospectively it has been decided to increase the rate on car seats from 18 to 28%. It has been decided to clarify that roof mounted package units, air conditioning machines for railways, that attracts 28% of tax. Similarly, it has been recommended to notify GST at the rate of 5% on transportation of passengers by helicopters on seat sharing basis, as is available also for air travel on economy class. it has been decided to clarify that PLC or preferential location charges paid along with the consideration for construction services, whether for residential, commercial or industrial, will be also a part of composite supply of construction services liable to tax at the same rate. And then decided to regularize some past period related to film distributor or sub-distributor when it acts on a principal basis to acquire and distribute films. Another important decision was taken to exempt import of services by an establishment of a foreign airlines company. There were some notices which were also reported in the media earlier from a related person or any of its establishments outside India when made without consideration. The council also recommended to regularize the past period on as is, where is basis. Thank you.
So floor is now open for the questions. 277.
The second one was on the research. Okay, the compensation says, I would like to say this for the benefit of many of you who repeatedly have heard me say this, but I want you and myself to have some clarity even as I talk. Even at the time when the compensation cess was extended, after due consultation with the Attorney General then and also in the council several times, it was extended only because we had money to be paid to the states through the back-to-back loan, and that was back-to-back for the sake of giving compensation which we could not collect because of COVID. So, since that compensation was strictly since that cess was strictly for collection of compensation related monies, it was calculated as to what is the total amount which has been borrowed for the back-to-back and the interest which is due. And it was extended clearly, legally also, only to such an extent that you have to pay the back-to-back loan. And that is why I remember the first question, sorry, I forget your name, Pratyusha? Priya. Although we said extended till March 26, if the payment gets cleared by December or January of 25, December 25 or January 26, post that strictly you can't be collecting the compensation cess. The constituting of GOM to talk about the compensation cess's future, because beyond paying this backlog loan, which is the back-to-back loan and the interest for it, there cannot be a collection of cess for the compensation or compensation-related purposes. Because that particular compensation cess was purely for those first 5 years when you had to pay the states the gap between the protected and actual revenue. That saga ends with June 30th, 2022. But because it had to be paid through borrowed money, legally, after consultation, we have extended this compensation cess to such a time that we can pay this back, and at that time, tentatively till 31st March 2026. Now, if we pay that back by, let us say, January 2025, strictly, this cess no longer can be called compensation cess. Clear till then? Now, after that, if the cess has to be collected, it can't be compensation cess, but if it has to be collected, what? How do we do it? For what we do it? What rate at which we collect? What happens to the cess? That is what the GOM is going to talk about. Anything else on
45.
No, wait a minute. He had asked 3 questions. I've finished 1. The second, on the research, I just want to give you a bit of a detail. And this is absolutely necessary. research related funds going to the institutions and a notice which had gone to 7 such institutions was not an attempt at tax terrorism, was not an excess. I say this with a certain responsibility because where there are interpretation related issues, an officer in the field will certainly want to be sure that he is doing his job, he is collecting the money that he should collect, because some of these research funds which have gone to some institutions had a component that there could be some kind of a quid pro quo. And therefore the officer had to, and they are not one officer, one jurisdiction, they are different officers, different jurisdiction, all acting per the law before him. There are 7 such institutions to which the notice went. Therefore, this came up for discussion in this scale, a lot of outpouring, naturally. Now, before I went to the GST Council, in some occasion where I met the Honorable Prime Minister, he himself told me, अरे बजट में आप अनुसंधान कोष करते हो, आपने रिसर्च के लिए नेशनल रिसर्च फंड करते हो, रिसर्च के लिए फंड अलॉट करके इंस्टीट्यूशंस को देते हो, उसमें जीएसटी का क्या विषय बन गया? You should propose to the council that there should not be tax on research funds. So after much discussion in the council, I repeat, after much discussion in the council, I volunteered and said, look, I'd like to propose something for the consideration of the council. And वो ये बात है कि सिर्फ गवर्नमेंट फंड तक सीमित नहीं, any fund coming even from a private and going to a private university as well, so long as they are established per law of the state or of the center, we should exempt it all. Quid pro quo, no quid pro quo for public cause or for no established public cause. In the sense, research goes to a university and they do it for larger public good. Or research goes to, or research fund goes to a university, maybe at the end of it they'll have a patent. Maybe at the end of it they will give you climate resistant seed varieties. This fund shall not be bearing the GST burden. After that, if the seed or the patent or whatever is commercialized and through that some money can be collected, that's a different story. So ये बहुत चर्चा के बाद, when I said this, I'm grateful to every member of the council. Each one, and the first voice I heard from my left was of a lady, and that turned out to be West Bengal's finance minister. She said, I support this. And then so on, many other states also joined, and there was complete unanimity on this proposal which I put forward. I am grateful to all members. So the decision on the research fund, not yet finalized on that. The GO will talk about it in detail from now on. Nothing has been particularly defined yet for them. No, nothing has been decided on that yet.
So let me clarify this 40,000 crore will be the excess in case the compensation cess is continued. But it will not be continued. It cannot be continued, as per the act, because
once you pay back.
After you pay back, you cannot. So that's why, before this excess actually happens, we have to come up with some other alternative in lieu of this.
Not for compensation.
Not for compensation, but for something else.
16.
Ma'am, I am Monica from the New Indian Express. Ma'am, I need more clarity on this, on the decision on related party transaction. You said that import of services by these airlines will be exempt. So, this decision wouldn't apply to other sectors like IT companies, shipping.
No, this is an issue which is very specific to the airlines industry, because the airlines industry, our airlines, when they go abroad, they also get some similar concessions. So keeping that in light, this decision that has been taken is only with respect to the airline sector and not for any other sector.
But sir, what about other sectors? There is lot of confusion surrounding this law around related party transactions. Will the council will be coming with more clarity on this?
Already, circular has already been issued in June 2024, whereby, related party transactions, in case they are meant for providing goods other than goods and services, other than exempted services, then the valuation can be as is decided amongst them. So that has already been decided. Yes, there are some other issues. It's an ongoing exercise. They are under examination, and as and when the law committee and fitment committee have examined it, if there is a need, we will
Only
issue
6
more,
months figure.
Yeah, 6 months figure. So
as
that
required.
means the industry and the players have accepted the new tax regime. So there is no going back on that decision.
Well, the council heard the facts, and that's where it was left. It was more a presentation of the current situation, because that was a promise given that after 6 months we'll review. And it is more than 6 months now, but we've given a picture.
266.
Ma'am, hello, this is Surbi from Business Today. Ma'am, just wanted to understand the way forward on rate rationalization, because earlier the GOM had indicated that they would like to continue with the status quo on rates. So if you
Continue with?
continue with the current rate structure, ma'am. So if you could give us a way forward.
No, I don't know from where that statement has come. The rate rationalization GOM is looking into the issue of rates, and also about the slabs, number of slabs. But the discussion will also have to happen from now onwards. The status report just said till now how many meetings happened, and that's where it is. Some recommendations of earlier were all just indicative, nothing more. It wasn't given in detail. But from now, when the meetings happen, they will talk in detail about all of this.
17.
मैम आलोक प्रियदर्शी फ्रॉम सीएनबीसी आवाज। मैम ऑनलाइन ट्रांजैक्शन पर, डिजिटल ट्रांजैक्शन पर जो जीएसटी लगाने का प्रपोजल था, उसको लेकर काफी कहा गया था कि इसमें जो पूरा जो जीएसटी है वो 18% लगाया जाएगा। उसको लेकर अभी क्या फैसला हुआ है? जो कई सारे पेमेंट एग्रीगेटर्स हैं उसकी मांग कर रहे थे, उसे लेकर क्या फैसला हुआ?
नहीं, देखिए आलोक जी, ये जो मुद्दा जो काउंसिल के समक्ष में था, वो केवल एक स्पष्टीकरण देने के लिए था कि जो एक पूर्व में एक अधिसूचना जो जारी की गई थी, वो अधिसूचना के तहत में उनको छूट का लाभ, टैक्स छूट का लाभ उनको मिलता है या नहीं मिलता है। तो वो जो छूट थी, वो इसके ऊपर में विचार काउंसिल ने प्रथम बार नहीं किया, इससे पहले भी पूर्व में भी किया था, और उस समय भी यही स्पष्टीकरण दिया गया था कि ये जो छूट है, ये छूट केवल बैंक्स के लिए है, लेकिन यदि कोई छूट देनी है उनको, वो एक अलग मुद्दा है। और अगर इस प्रकार की छूट की कोई मांग आती है तो उसके ऊपर में पुनः से विचार, फिटमेंट कमेटी जो हमारी बनी हुई है वो उसके ऊपर में विचार करेगी और काउंसिल के समक्ष लाएगी। तो वो एक बिल्कुल अलग मुद्दा है कि उनको पेमेंट एग्रीगेटर को ये छूट देनी है या नहीं देनी है, इसके ऊपर में कोई चर्चा आज के दिन में काउंसिल की मीटिंग में नहीं हुई। मुद्दा आएगा तो उसके ऊपर में जो हमारी निर्धारित प्रक्रिया है, उस प्रक्रिया के तहत में उसका परीक्षण करके और उसके ऊपर में एक उचित निर्णय काउंसिल लेगी।
77.
मैम, मैं शैलेश हूँ A9 न्यूज एजेंसी से। मैम, जो हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस की बात हो रही है,
किसकी?
हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस के लिए जो जीओ बना है, जो अक्टूबर में अपनी रिपोर्ट देगी, उसमें हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस है या लाइफ इंश्योरेंस भी है, टर्म इंश्योरेंस भी है?
सब है। ग्रुप इंश्योरेंस है, या रेसिडेंट वेलफेयर एसोसिएशन उनकी तरफ से कुछ करते हैं, इंश्योरेंस के नाम पर, वो सब आइटम्स को ये ग्रुप ऑफ मिनिस्टर्स अध्ययन करके अक्टूबर तक मीटिंग रिकमेंडेशन देंगे.
थैंक यू.
7.
Ma'am, good evening. Ma'am, my question is on the online gaming part. Were there any discussions held on the outstanding tax liabilities of the online gaming, especially the show cause notices that were issued to them?
There was no discussion on the old part. There was no discussion.
So, any roadmap on how will this be treated?
The matter is sub judice. We await the decision of the courts.
There was one report on GOM on real estate also. So what was discussed, in the council?
No, they just gave a status report on what they've done.
Okay, that's it. No discussion. Okay, thank you.
95. Please introduce us. Good evening, ma'am. This is Sumit Chaturvedi, ET Now. Did anything come as far as the electric vehicle charging stations and GST or rate relief on that are concerned?
On the EV charging station, the matter was actually deferred. There was a recommendation, of course, from the Fitment Committee, but the council, in its wisdom, thought that this needs this needs a re-examination. So, as to whether this is actually an electricity supply or not, and what rate, if it is not an electricity supply, then what rate it should attract. The matter has been deferred for re-examination by the Fitment.
मैं अनिल कुमार हूँ, स्वतंत्र पत्रकार हूँ. मेरा सवाल यह है कि जिस केदारनाथ, बद्रीनाथ या फिर वैष्णो देवी के लिए जो हेलीकॉप्टर सेवाएं दी जाती है, उसमें जो जीएसटी ली जाती है, क्या उस पे भी आज कोई डिस्कशन हुए?
नहीं,
उसके ऊपर में नहीं हुआ, लेकिन जो सीट शेयरिंग पे अगर कोई लेता है, जो
हेलीकॉप्टर में जाने वाले जीएसटी के ऊपर अभी बताया,
लेकिन वो बद्रीनाथ या केदारनाथ से स्पेसिफिक नहीं है, लेकिन अगर वो उसमें आता है तो वो उसको 5% दर लगेगी.